panel still. Pat, hi.
Hey, good.
What are you going to talk about? Give us a little interaction.
Okay. So let me, I can do this. Let me do two things. First of all, I'm glad to be here. I've never been an opening act for Sarah Palin. I never imagined in my life. I was here last year to cause some problems because I attacked the Republican consultant lobbyist class as a racketeering operation.
Yeah.
That had not only blown the election, but it eluded the system. And I just want to say, I don't want to reprise that other than to say, they understand one thing, if they just hold on, they get all the money back, and that's what's happening. So the people who lost for you before and who are willing to lose as long as they can preserve their situation are now in charge of your great hopes for 2014. But now their new strategy is, just to say this, is to stand for nothing. It is to, what I call the surrender caucus. I'm on a show, Political Insiders, with Doug Schoen and John Levine, which is a very highly rated program on Sunday night, 7:30 on Fox News, and we talk about this all the time. But whether it was an NLRB, the decision not to contest spending, all of the issues, the debt limit, and essentially have Barack Obama produce a budget which he pulled back everything. The notion has been, if we say nothing and do nothing, we will win in 2014. That's a hell of a way to lose, and it has repercussions. I want to say a quick word about my own party, because I'm sort of an apostate for both of them, but you know, I just want to say this, what I'm appalled at, I mean, I describe the two parties, some of you know, as the corrupt party and the stupid party. And actually they have a lot in common. But Jonathan Turley last week got up at a testimony, who is a liberal Democratic law professor, and said, look, I agree with Barack Obama's programs, but you have no right to discard the Constitution. We're at a constitutional tipping point. What bothers me is why, here's the dog that's not barking, where was everyone else? No one else speaks up, and I've seen this on Benghazi in my party, on the IRS, which should be something that really frightens people, whether it's on Obamacare, most of all in economics, because the people who paid the greatest price under President Obama are the very basis of his coalition, which is blacks, Hispanics, women, and young people have had the greatest loss of income, an issue the Republicans have not been able to manage. But I want to say a moment about the problem, and this gets to the two parties, and I just want to touch on a couple of them as it relates to conservatives and Republicans. One is the rule of law. You know, when Harry Reid decided to have the nuclear option, which he, President Obama, Joe Biden, everyone else opposed, when the Republicans were trying to do it some years ago, as I did, opposed it because you shouldn't overthrow the Constitution. And as the president basically decides, as Jonathan Turley said, that he can rule by fiat without regard to the Constitution, something that even a majority of Democrats oppose. Let me tell you what the Republicans didn't do. The Republican leadership in the Senate, led by Mitch McConnell, which is one of the, as I call him, the Ambrose Burnside of American politics, was the worst Civil War general of all, and has managed to lose constantly. But he's always surrendering to the Democrats. But on this one, the Republican leadership said, well, we don't like this, but hey, we can't wait to get it. You know what? Sometimes you ought to stand up for the country. The Republicans in the Senate could have shut the Senate down and said, we will not function. You cannot function without unanimous consent in the operation of that body. And they could have said, we will stand up for the Constitution and stand up for principle. And they didn't. And they never did it.
Yep.
Obamacare, this whole idea of let's not say anything and everything will work out for us. There's no alternative. There is no party position the way there was in 1994, which worked quite well. A contract for America, a Republican Party position that says here's an alternative. It just presumes that you can get by with doing what you wish. And I mean, and the lack of a narrative, a consistent narrative. When the president got up and said, you keep your health care program, keep your health care, your life insurance company, it was the greatest lie of the new century. Right? Now, by the way, American people come to expect it. By 2-to-1, Americans say, Politicians today lie about everything, big or small, and it's not like they're just fibbing like they did in the past. It's threatening democracy. Just like a large majority believe the rule of law is in danger in this country and the democracy. The two issues I want to speak to is the IRS. This is what I said a week ago. The Republican leadership is happy with the IRS going after the Tea Party. Can anybody figure this out? Because they're threatened by them, just as Democrats would be threatened by outsiders. That's why John Boehner there is no committee, special committee investigating government abuse. They just occasionally do these things. But again, if they were serious about the IRS, which is a threat to every American without regard to party, because my God, that is a slippery slope. Imagine what's going to happen in the future with another president. But I will tell you this. They didn't move the fund of the IRS any more than they did to take it out of Obamacare. The country doesn't think they should be in either. But they let the woman who gave money to Obama, and they let the stuff go on because they choose, and their allies in the lobbyist establishment, consultant establishment, wanted to go on. Finally, on national defense, I said the other day that Putin had taken his measure of Barack Obama and found his Neville Chamberlain. And on political insiders, the week before he did it, we predicted he would invade, which nobody else was doing because I said it's a Sudetenland all over. You have to go, you don't have time for a history lesson. It is, but I want to say, on national security, there's nothing more important, nothing that tells you what's wrong with the political establishment in this country than Benghazi. John Boehner, I believe John Boehner cares about his country, but apparently it's about 4th or 5th on his list. When you have 180 members of the Republican caucus demanding a special committee, look, this isn't about politics, it's about the truth. And the central truth that has not been addressed is where was the president that night?
Yeah.
Who was the talking point? They did not send the president by some very godfather.
Yeah.
The people I blame are you, the fact that those 180 members are taking you for a ride, pretending on one side, oh, we want a special committee. They have 180 members. They could bring in the Speaker, Mr. Cantor, and Mr. Rogers, and Mr. McCarthy, and say, you either put in a special committee or you're gone tomorrow. And
yeah.
they are serious. They are not serious. And this is the problem with our politics. And part of the Benghazi story, of course, is the media. With Bob, you know, they were missing, what I said, with Bob, the real Bob would have lied, this never would have happened. But, you know, but there are even conservative commentators, even on my network Fox, who poo-poo Benghazi. This is not about politics, it's about the truth. It's about dead Americans, and 2/3 of the American people believe there should be a select committee, and 60% of Democrats believe there should be. So you have to ask yourself, what the hell's going on here? The answer is that the political elite, the political class does not want it. I'm here to tell you, and I want to react now to what the future is. We have a system designed, we are told, that only has liberals and conservatives, Democrats and Republicans on a very flat axis. But I'm telling you there is a different paradigm. And I will give you the first hint of it. The first hint of it was Syria. Remember Syria last summer? When the president said, after saying, oh, don't cross the red line, and oh, now I got to go to war, and I don't want to do it. And the Republican leadership and the Democratic leadership all united to support the president. And the American people, Democrats, Republicans across the board, rose up and said, the hell's with it, and stopped it. It was not an organized movement. They just stopped it. And we see the same thing with the NSA, where we have the political elite establishment, the Lindsey Grahams, the Rogers, others telling us how great it is that they're spying on you, and everyone else in the country, particularly young people, going, this is appalling. But we don't have that kind of division. There is a new paradigm. And what I want to tell you, for several months in September, I've been this summer involved in a research project, not a poll, but a project, exploring whether or not there's enough politics coming. And I am not here today to go through it. I will tell you this. In that black bag, in that blue bag, someday will be a black bag, is what I call the Candidate Smith Project. And Candidate Smith is about a whole new paradigm, a whole new organization. of politics. And I'll tell you what it's based on. It's based on the 80% of the American people who believe the American dream is harder to attain. The 62/3 of Americans who believe the system is rigged. For those, if you're trying to work hard, you can't achieve the American dream because the system is rigged. And the 2/3 of Americans who now believe that if you work hard, you can't succeed. You can't make it. You can't change yourself. This violates everything we believe about America. And most importantly, the 65% of the American people who believe that their children will have a lesser future than they had. The religious tenet of our civic religion in this country is you give your children better than you have. And I have said before, if you kill that idea, there will still be a United States, but there will be no America. That idea existed before there was an government. And that vision, what to do, I'm just going to read you a conclusion about what I've been working on. Because the alienation, the American people believe the system's rigged, that it's corrupt. These numbers are higher, and I started this 40 years ago. In the 80, almost 90%. At least 2/3, 75% or more, who believe the system is rigged. We need real democracy and real free enterprise. That the political class works against the people. We need new leadership. And most of all, the 3/4 of the American people believe the government in Washington does not operate with the consent of the people. That is a pretty revolutionary moment. And I just want to go to the difference between the reality of the current political structure, where the American people is not merely a chasm in the bridge. We are dealing with a literally alternative universe, one of political, media, and establishment that reflects the current condition. And another alternate universe, the American people who totally reject that and desire a total refashioning of the conduct of this nation's political life and yearn for true reform. They see a resurgence of both their own sovereignty and a resurgence of America. They understand that if you don't fix this political system, which is so corrupt and broken and serves the people in it, you will never deal with any of the problems you care about. Will never get solved. That the corruption has got to be rooted out because it is poisoning the country. And most of all, we need a resurgent America. And we need to return to the dominant, true ideology of the American people, which is common sense. That appeals across the board. I am telling you that from 65 to 75% of the American people are prepared to enlist. And the candidates in this project all tells me that you can win it with the right things, either as a Democrat, a Republican, or independent. But I will tell you what they also say. To the political class and the media and those in the establishment who dominate this country, there's a message. And the message is that people are coming, and they're coming for you. The question is whether we're going to do that, have that in a positive way that gives resurgence to our values as a country, or whether in 2040 or even before that, we are going to be visited by a politics I guarantee none of you in this room wish to have. But that moment is at hand, and it comes every 40 years we have change. But I am telling you, this is as big a moment as it was prior to the Civil War. And the change we're looking at will be decisive. The people in this room and the American people, whatever they claim to be, who live outside that beltway and outside that elite, are ready to reclaim their country because they have to.